Welcome everybody to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here on Black Star Network, and we are continuing our series with Living in Full Bloom. As you know, we go through life, we're seemingly trying to find our space in it, but there are times where we just have to buckle down, hit that button, and just go. This week, we're going to be joined by Chef Monica, Dr. Tierney, and Kim Roxie of LAMIK Beauty, and we're talking all things related to how do you find your space, how do you find your lane? And then how do you thrive in that lane? Ladies, let me just say, do we feel like we've had a lot of curveballs this year?
That's an understatement, but yeah.
Right? It's like we get to this space and all of a sudden we're moving. We are grooving. We have found our stride. And then something seemingly just comes out of a left field, unexpected. And we have to discover not only how to pivot, but how to stay true to our authentic self and the lives that we're living. So, I'm going to do a one-on-one, y'all, at some point during this time we have together with Kim Roxie of LAMIK Beauty. But I want to jump in with Dr. Tierney for just a moment to kind of kick us off with this idea of not only are we trying to live, Dr. T, in full bloom, but sometimes we forget that we need to be nurtured and watered and, put in all this pre-work. So Dr. T, how is it that we get to this space of, trying to figure out how do we live the life that we were meant to live while also trying to pivot, discovering how to get planted and what soil we need to be in and all these other things? Because, we have it together as women, but at the same time, a lot seems to be trying to take us out of here. So Dr. T, talk to us about that and what it looks like for us to not only find our lane, but to recognize we have to put in the work.
Yeah.
So that we can sustain ourselves in seasons of difficulty.
That's a really good question. And something that I've been saying just almost on repeat during the entirety of this series is that before we can really bloom, so to speak, is that you got to know what kind of flower you are. A lot of times we're looking externally to define what only can be defined by looking internally. Right. And so when you're thinking about, thriving and blooming and, living the life that you were supposed to live, you have to look at you and ask yourself, who am I? What is the unique thing about me? Because a lot of times we may try to bloom when someone else is blooming, and that's not our season to bloom. Or we may, to stick with the gardening analogy, we may see somebody else watering themselves, this at this frequency, but then we may do that and then our roots become waterlogged because maybe we're a cactus, and we don't need that, So it really, the main thing is to make sure that you are very clear about who you are and what it is that you need, and then see all of that as part of the process of blooming, right? So we often think of blooming as, or, being and thriving as, being out there doing the things and being on the scene and all the things and checking the boxes and, but that's just the outward manifestation of what you do in private, right? So you can be out there and do all the things because in private you took a nap, you drank your water, you did some self-care. So when we see it as all a part of the process, like in order for me to be able to do the things, I have to go take a nap. In order for me to be able to have the energy to go into this arena or to, check these boxes, I have to make sure that I'm eating well. I have to make sure that I'm talking kind to myself, and so all of it being connected. It's not, one thing I do in addition to me being the boss babe and whatever, however we want to label it, it all works together. And if we don't see it as part of one cohesive process, then we may cut out something that's very important in order to keep us blooming.
Thank you for sharing that, because in these seasons where we are and trying to, get our footing and, these seeds of purpose that we have in everyday life, they come to us in different manifestations. And so Kim Roxie, I know we're going to do a one-on-one with you, but let's talk about that for a moment, because oftentimes people forget that we are seeds. We forget that we are seeds, that we can kind of grow anywhere. And so that kind of throws people off because our environments don't necessarily dictate how we grow and where we grow and what we become. Talk to us about that for a little bit, because your seeds and how you've become who you are is a little bit different than most people. So share with us about your concept and idea for your beauty brand.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I just adore you and have been just thinking about, when you talk about sowing seeds, even when we originally met, the seed of sisterhood, the seed of support, the seed that I see you in the ground, right? I see you toiling and going back and forth. I know, like with LAMIK, it was a seed inside of me that I created a clean makeup line, but it started with the seed of my mother and father instilling in me that I could become. And what I think about is the 16-year-old Kim who was kicked out of high school, who had the seed inside of her to become a beauty entrepreneur, but didn't know it. I thought my sort of renegade attitude, or my sort of rebel, or my sort of seeing things another way was something of just, making mistakes, but not realizing it was also my ability to take risks that might have cost me to get kicked out of high school, but still risk itself. And so instead of, and I'm grateful that I had the parents I had a praying mother. Anybody out there got one of them praying mothers? Who doesn't have to cuss you out. She doesn't have to even whoop you. All she got to do is go to God in prayer. And I believe that her patience and my parents' patience in me really helped that seed of taking risks, of not being afraid to sort of like stand out or be alone in a crowd, or do the out of the norm thing, actually bloomed into being an entrepreneur. And so when I think about that seed and what we're talking about here, to be honest, that's what it makes me think of. It makes me think of the fact that even back then, when some shunned me and told me I was not going to, become a productive citizen because I'm sitting in alternative school with my friends who are on probation and all this kind of stuff. But that seed was still inside of me. That 5 years later, I would open up my first makeup shop in my hometown of Houston, Texas at 21 years old. And that same alternative school that I went to actually sent me a letter for Career Day in the mail. And 5 years later, I'm at the alternative school that I went to speaking for Career Day. And the students, the alternative school didn't know. The students just had went to the mall and said, one day I want to work at a store like that. One day I just want to work at a place like that. They didn't even know that someone who went to the same alternative school actually owned the store. And
wow.
So I get there and they're like, this is the first time we've ever had anybody come to a Career Day that has sat in the same seats as these kids who've been kicked out of high school, who are on probation, who've been a part of the juvenile system. And so that let me know then that even back then, that 16-year-old Kim had a seed inside of her that would bloom then to touch other people's lives, and the little Kims that would come up next.
All right, ladies. So let's have this conversation about, I want to see how I can phrase this, because I don't want to offend our audience, but we need to have a real substantive conversation about how we count people out before we even know what they're made of. Because in order for us to bloom where we're planted, to see ourselves as seeds that can grow in any type of soil, these levels of adversity that we face oftentimes are what help us to thrive and to grow in difficult seasons and circumstances. So Dr. Tierney, dive right into that, because sometimes winds of change and storms are what cultivate not only our soil, but they cultivate our soul in such a way that we can grow any place that we are planted.
Yeah, that's so good. As soon as when you first started talking, the scripture that came up is God looks on the inner, man looks on the outer. We can only see what we can only see, and that's not just looking at us looking at other people. It's also us looking at ourselves, right? So when I was looking at me, back when I was working in higher ed and, doing all the Dr. Hodges things, at the time I was Dr. Hodges, I did not see this me. I said I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I said I never wanted to wear my hair natural. Okay. Can we just, I did not see all of the different pieces and parts of me because I could only see what I could see based on the outside. But God knew what he had put on the inside of me. And it's the storms, it's the trials. It was me losing my good job unexpectedly. It was the shut doors. It was the hurt feelings. It was the people abandoning me. It was the people talking about me that helped that seed that I didn't even see to actually grow. It was when one door was shut that I had to then decide, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to stand here at this door and cry, or are you going to pivot? It was when I lost my job that I was like, well, why am I? Well, Jacquie, that was actually you that planted another seed. It's like, why are you waiting on somebody to give you a job? You make your own job, do your own thing, and it was those hard times that allowed that seed to grow roots and start to break open. And for me to see what else was on the inside of me. Right. And so that's why I tell my clients to don't run away from the storms. That storm is often the door to your next level. That hard thing, there's something that is in that hard thing that you need to learn about either life, about yourself, about, situations, about your relationships. There's something that you need to learn that only that storm can reveal. So now I even say it's not how people would say, well, I am here in spite of all that I went through. No, I'm here because of everything that I went through. I am not upset about anyone that betrayed me. I am not upset about any hard time that I faced. I'm so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs at this point that when hard stuff and crazy stuff starts to happen, I sit back, okay, God, what you want me to see? What next level are you opening for me? I get excited now when everything just goes to hell in a handbasket, because I know that is now the signal that my next level is upon me. Because that's usually that's God calling me to another level of faith, another level of creativity, another level of freedom, another level of me that I couldn't see until that storm, until that opportunity to lean in to whatever that hurtful thing is comes along to reveal to me what he put on the inside of me. And so I then have to give that same opportunity to other people. I don't just look at people like, oh, well, they did this, so I ain't gonna talk. No, this is a learning lesson. This is something else for me to see even about them that I might not have seen before, and so I welcome the storms now. So when I always say like, I'm good with all the smoke, I truly mean that. Like, bring me the smoke, bring me the smoke, because I'm good.
I think that that's of value, and I'm gonna go to break because I want to get us to this place of hearing more from Kim Roxie when we come back in our break, but also building on something Dr. Tierney said as it relates to adversity and what life lessons does it teach you. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Why does it feel like we're going backward? Voting rights under attack, schools stripped of funding, Black history erased. This is the Trump MAGA agenda. They want to take us back. They are redrawing congressional lines in states across the country, deciding who gets power and who gets silenced. We see what this is, a power grab. Virginians won't be fooled. Show up, vote, take back our power. It's a temporary measure that gives the people, not politicians, the final say. Vote yes by April 21st.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, I hope you have your pen, pad, and your digital device, because today we're going to be power packed with teaching you what it means to not only discover that you yourself are a seed of purpose, but sometimes you've got to figure out how to get grounded and rooted and take responsibility for the things that not only are going on in your life, but how you want your trajectory to go. So Kim Roxie, let's talk about this for a moment, because ma'am, they're out there, and I will share my story as the three of us are together, and then we're going to dive into this one-on-one, because I'm sure Dr. Tierney has this little bit of a story too. So you started your business with $500, and I started my business with 7 years of spare change. And so it's like they say, for every dollar that you break, you should put this money aside. And so when I got to the place like Dr. Tierney, where, there was opportunity no longer open, I'm like, well, I got skills. I've got ability. I don't like taking orders from other people. So I'm going to get out here in this entrepreneur space as well. So that 7-year jar of spare change, really became the catalyst for me to launch my first, administrative office business. So Dr. Tierney, what's your first, what'd you start with, girl? 0. See?
It was me, God, and Google. You hear me? I had, okay. So I lost my job.
Okay. I love this combo.
Such a saver. So I had money saved, my, 401k. I was always very fiscally prudent. And by the time God was like, okay, come on, I'm going to see you, Dr. Jacquie, you start this business. I had used all of that to survive.
Yes.
I had been living off of all of that. So I lost my job in 2016. I didn't start my business really till the end of 2018, 2019. So for all of those years, God just kept me on my savings. So then when the word came, like, start a business, well, what, Jesus? Well, what? But even in that, when I look back on it, I can see how God was trying to get me to see that the house that Tierney built had to be broke down, because this house that's going to be built, I need you to know that it's built on the rock. It's built on, the name of Jesus. It's not built because of your intellect. It's not built because of what you got in your bank account. It's not built because of your good credit score. It's not built because of none of that. So I'm going to just let all of that die. So when it come up out the ground, not only will you be able to see it, other people will be able to see it, because you finna have to go on TV and tell it how broke you were and how you didn't have nothing to your name, so that you can get the glory, Tierney. I can.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to segue with, Kim Roxie. $500, a dream, a plan, and necessity. Talk to us about your journey with LAMIK, and what does LAMIK stand for?
Well, I'm just going to throw my handkerchief, because between Dr. Tierney and you, Dr. Jacquie, y'all just got me going. I'm just leaping on the inside. I mean, I just absolutely love it. You ever be in church sometime and you just be like, just like, yes. Or you be at a poetry lounge or something, and, you get to snapping the fingers. Now we do this, yes, all of that. And I say that because, your story resonates with me. Both of y'all's story resonate with me. I think that there's different levels, there's different times, there's different seasons of this all. When I first started, it was, with $500 that my mom gave me. Then when I decided to launch the makeup brand by itself and declared that I was going to launch a national makeup brand, I actually had to go to my potential customers and did something called a rewards-based crowdfunding campaign, where I had to raise the money to be able to launch LAMIK nationally. And I did that at the end of 2019, and I raised $50,000 in a month from potential customers. And this was just contributions that were made so we could launch LAMIK, the makeup line, by itself, and e-commerce. And I had to build this website. And we also were building out technology to where you could virtually try on the products. And we also, even back then, were building out AI-powered quizzes. So like on our website, you can take different quizzes that will recommend the right products to you, because we can't afford to send you the wrong color. Okay, we just can't afford that. Okay, and so it keeps it down. And we probably only have, I can count on a hand how many refunds we get in a whole year from our website, just based on this accuracy that we have on this. Even something else that we did was on our website, you upload your picture for your foundation. A lot of people are like, what color do I wear for my foundation? With LAMIK, you don't need to know what color you wear. You literally upload your picture and then we send you a foundation that matches your skin tone. So these are the things that we did. And this is what our customers actually saw us do, but they also contributed for that to happen. And so I wanted to give the community the ownership and and also the participation in building LAMIK. Until this day, it's still the same way. LAMIK stands for Love and Makeup and Kindness. LAMIK, Love and Makeup and Kindness. And matter of fact, let me put a little LAMIK on right now so you can see what I'm talking about. So first of all, I have alopecia, and my hair started to come out on my scalp. But then also it started to come out on my eyebrows. Now, why is that such a big deal? Because I am an esthetician and I was known back when I had my makeup shop in Houston. I was known for doing eyebrows. I have done the eyebrows of Yolanda Adams, Tasha Cobbs, Monica, some of everybody. I've done the eyebrows. And I was known for doing brows. But when my own brows started to leave my face, what do? Right. And so my mom had developed metastatic breast cancer. And so I learned that 75% of beauty products marketed to women of color are toxic. So I wanted to create a clean makeup line, be able to fill in my own brows. And the first product that I launched with was our Revelation Brow Duo. That was the brow gel that I just used on my eyebrows to make my brows look fuller. But these are all things, earlier, Dr. Tierney was talking about, based out of a need, based out of a problem, me losing my hair, and being a brow expert, but created this revolutionary Revelation Brow Duo, which is the first of its kind, where you get a brow powder and a concealer in the same compact. So from LAMIK just stands for, love and makeup and kindness, because love and kindness is your true makeup. Because beauty is revealed and not applied. But after I lost my mom to breast cancer, LAMIK also stands for Loretta, Always Made Up in Kim. My mom's name is Loretta. And I just looked at that and God gave me another way to look at it. Because my mom was my best friend. She wasn't just my mom. She gave me the $500 to even start in business. So she was my investor. She was my everything. And I couldn't imagine living life without her. But God gave me that Loretta's always made up in Kim. And so when I see myself now, I see her.
I love that. I think that, ladies, you all are sharing, pivotal moments in our viewers' lives where oftentimes they don't know how to turn, tragedy into triumph. They don't see the beauty and value in what makes them unique and individual. And Dr. Tierney, I'm going to ask you this question because we always tell people you are filled with purpose and promise and possibility. And Kim even started out by saying that some people counted her out and counted her down. You help people level up in their personhood first before they ever launch out into doing anything for anybody else. You're helping them discover who they really are at their core. And talk to us about why it's important to love you.
Oh, gosh, loving you is everything. Oh, loving you is... You can't love anyone else if you don't first love you. If we are constantly looking for something else external to us to fill this void, then what happens when that thing is no longer there? So when you love you, it shapes how you interact with the world. It shapes how you see your world. It shapes what you feel that you can actually go after, right? It shapes how you treat other people. It shapes how you feel every day when you get up. I mean, imagine, just having this internal generator that says, I am enough, that says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am good. Regardless of however today turns out, I'm good. That gives you a level of power and resilience that nothing external can give to you. And a lot of times we think when I say that, or people are just like, yeah, okay. But if I had this job, or if I get married, or Sugar, it's people that's married that's miserable. It's people with a lot of money that's miserable. It's people that have, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Right? It's like if your internal is not right, nothing else is going to be right. And I love what you said, Kim. You know, Levita is made up in Kim. I love that because a lot of times the reasons why we don't love ourselves and we don't, you know, have that strong foundation is because we did not get it as children. You know, somewhere along the way, someone did not affirm us enough or validate us enough. And so we then did not learn from a very early age to value ourselves, because that's really what it comes down to. How do you value you? And Sugar, if that is you, I am sorry. It breaks my heart, you know, when I meet my clients and they did not have, you know, someone in their life, be it a teacher, be it a basketball coach, be it a grandmother, an aunt, to speak life into them, because that is your first imprint point that you learn how to speak life into yourself. And when you cannot speak life, when you cannot speak that and see that over yourself, it's going to be impossible for you to speak life over a career, for you to speak life over a marriage, for you to speak life over your own children, for you to speak life into this dream, to this thing that you want to see manifest. So that's why it's critical that we really love ourselves, and we see that as being the focal point. We see that as being the cornerstone of everything that manifests around us, external to us in our lives. It all comes from our internal point. I cannot stress that enough, Sugar.
Absolutely. You know, I'm going to dive right into a break because I think this is a good place for us to, you know, mentally pivot, because, you know, we're a light and easy show, but sometimes I know we get to you. And so when we come back after the break, I want to pick up where Dr. Tierney left off, but dive in with Kim Roxie, who some people said that she went from at risk to risk taker. Could that be you? We'll be back in a moment after the break.
MAGA Republicans ended diversity programs, cut funding for Black students, and fired federal employees. And they won't stop there. Now, they've redrawn congressional maps so that they can rig the November elections. But we have the power to stop them. By voting yes for fair elections, we have the final say on who represents us in Congress. This is a temporary measure to restore fairness. They are not backing down, and neither can we. Make a plan to vote by April 21st and vote yes for fair elections.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, sometimes you have to just bet on yourself. When everybody counts you down, counts you out, you have to be able to get up no matter how many times you've been knocked out in the ring, no matter how many times your little leaves have been pruned, no matter how many times you have been uprooted. It's up to you to discover where you fit in and find your lane. Kim Roxie, let's talk about this TED Talk, ma'am. Because people had called you at risk, and then you got moved into the category of risk taker. I mean, your business, you went from stopping a business in Houston to deciding to get in an incubator. And I know that was hard, giving your baby over to somebody else to kind of tell you how you should run your business so you could level up like Dr. Tierney talks about. So dive right in and share with us about the TED Talk. And then why is it important to be, I call myself a CRT. I am a calculated risk taker. I'm not going to just run out here and be crazy when I got an idea in my head, but I know how to be calculated and then take my turn. So dive right in, Kim.
Yeah, it's so funny because I love the calculated risk takers. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a good risk taker. So I'm always like, you know, leaving it close to the hip. I've been in through it all in and be like, okay, all or nothing. Right. And come to find out, I looked up my birthday is on all or nothing day. So that's a whole nother thing. But I just, you know, imagine that what Dr. Tierney talked about earlier, too, in regards to leading to the fact that sometimes the storms are coming to help to propel you to greater. And that's something that I have found when my back is up against the wall that's when I've got to be creative. That's when I've got to be innovative, because my back is up against the wall. It's like it happened on purpose. And so I look at betting on myself, sometimes I bet on others. If I see a spark in someone, what comes to my team or whatever, it's like, oh, I just see it. I feel it. What Maya Angelou said, you don't remember what people say, but you remember the way they made you feel. And I'm like, okay, yes. Because anybody, let me tell you, any business mentor, if I had one, I didn't have a business mentor when I first started. If I would have had a business mentor, now one of my mentors is Kathy Hughes, founder of Radio One. I know she would have told me, you do not need to start no business. Girl, you don't even know, you ain't never done no business. You don't even do people makeup that good. You need to quit. And I love my Kathy, but she'll keep it to you real, right? She's the person who gave me the best advice, though. She said, never tell your family how bad your business is going, or how good it's going.
Real talk.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm talking about? So that was like some of the best advice she ever gave me. Because remember, Kathy Hughes, her story, slept on the floor in the radio station, to own a radio station. But basically just saying, like, your family doesn't want to see you do bad, right? Some of the sacrifices I've made for my business, betting on myself, my parents or my sisters or whoever wouldn't have wanted to see me in those positions because I sacrificed so much. Right. And so I think that when we talk about betting on ourselves, sometimes we only look at it like, yeah, betting on ourselves. But what about the sacrifices that you make that literally you wouldn't even recommend for someone else to make? I'm not the person that's going to tell you, it has to be, you have to have a calling to do whatever you need to do, like in entrepreneurship and all that, because some of the things I wouldn't recommend. And I know there's this trend going around. Me and my daughter just did it. I have a 10-year-old daughter who is like my social media manager. She makes me do so many different TikToks. She makes me do so many different Instagram reels. And one of the ones we just did was where he's like, cereal, no milk. Noodles, no packet. You know what I'm saying?
With the can, milk, the powder milk. Yeah.
So basically, we got it from the mud, right? Like, we know what it's like to make those sacrifices. And that's what I explain to my daughter, and she gets to see it. Like, summer break is coming up. She's going to travel with me the whole summer while we go around and do different events for LAMIK. And last summer, she went with me when we launched inside of these Midwest stores called Hy-Vees, and we launched in 37 stores. I went to each location and did a pop-up at each location inside the store to meet the staff, to meet customers, all this stuff. She saw that. She saw the way that we had to like live in each hotel and then get back on the road. We did a road trip across the whole Midwest. Like, she knows like what that's like. And to me, that is some of the most valuable. We talk about betting on ourselves. That's what we're talking about. Betting on yourself is not just, living in, being in the penthouse and looking down on the people. No, it's the grind that it takes to get there. So when I think about betting on myself, when I think about, LAMIK, I think about just that. But when you think about makeup, what is it about? It's about building and enhancing what you have. And that's how we have to do in life with the tools that we have in our toolkit. With the obstacles, with the walls, just taking and then just creating this beautiful outcome, but through the tools that you have.
Absolutely. Ladies, it's interesting because sometimes that first yes has to come from you. It shouldn't always come from other people. That first yes has to come from you, because if you don't believe in you, you can't pitch to anybody. You can't tell anybody what you're trying to do and what you believe in because you don't believe it yourself. Dr. Tierney, in addition to betting on yourself, finding this space to say, I'm okay, even in a saturated market, from beauty industry to coaching, it's a whole bunch of beauty brands and it's a whole bunch of coaches out there. Dr. Tierney, why is it important to let resilience be your driving force?
Okay. So I'm going to answer this in a different little way. Yes, whatever. Okay. If you go down the bread aisle in the grocery store, how many different bread brands do you see? We got Wonder Bread. We got Nature's Own. We got the bread that's got the protein in it now. We got wheat bread. We got white bread. We got so many different bread. Does that mean that Wonder Bread stopped making bread? Because it's a whole bunch of other people that's making bread? No, you keep doing what it is that is in you to do. I tell people all the time, yeah, it's a bunch of coaches out here, but can't nobody Dr. Tierney the way that Dr. Tierney can Dr. Tierney. You may say something similar, but they're not going to say it the way that I can say it. You know, there's a lot of different makeup brands, but can't nobody LAMIK like Kim Roxie and her LAMIK. Could nobody eyebrow the way Kim Roxie could eyebrow, you know? And so when you are doing what it is that you have been created to do, no one can do it the way that you do it. And so the resilience, again, Sugar, it comes from you knowing who you are and whose you are. I am, and a lot of times my confidence comes across as cockiness. And hey, call it what you want. I'm very humble. I'm a very, you know, what you call me, Dr. J, a bleeding heart. You know, I'm just as sweet as pie, as the old folks say. But I know who I am, and you're not going to be able to convince me to not do this thing that God has called me to do and to shrink who I am. I spent enough years shrinking myself because I didn't believe in myself. But now that I really know who I am, and I don't even know all the things that I can do. That's the thing. I don't even know all the things I can do yet because God is still revealing stuff to me every single day. So why am I going to walk around and stop doing what it is that I'm doing because somebody else is doing something similar? No, they're not me. They don't have my pizzazz. They don't have my swag. They don't have my juice. They don't have my tone. They're not the perfect blend of Southern sweet with big city. Like they not from Memphis. Okay, man, they not from Memphis. Like there's only a certain way that I can do it, but it comes from me knowing me. It comes from me being confident in me. And like I always say, one of my favorite movies, Players Club, you got to use what you got to get what you want. You got to use what you got to get what you want. And sometimes what you got is that Southern twang. So, hey, Sugar, sometimes what you got is that storm that God handed you. So you look at that storm and say, okay, well, we're going to need some umbrellas in this storm. Let's start making umbrellas. You know, sometimes what you got ain't necessarily all the things that we want to have. It may not be the resources. It may not be the connections, you know, but how can you in a place with no connection start saying, okay, well, let's get together and all the people that don't have connections and we start making connections. You know, you really have to look at what you got. And a lot of times what you got are those intangible things that you overlooking because you think it's not worth anything. It doesn't have any value to you. Again, this is why it's important that you like you and you know who you are, because then you will assign the appropriate value to what it is that you got. And you'll then know how to use it to ultimately get what it is that you want.
Yeah, ladies, because sometimes getting what you want can only come from you. Exactly, Kim. I mean, it's one of those things. And I love what Dr. Tierney said about people from Memphis. I would say I would describe myself in this resilient space. I'm sunshine and gunpowder. And most of the people who know me already know.
I was about to quote my little niece, Glorilla.
Don't. I tell people all the time now. Listen, I'm a little old. Will be Glorilla's auntie. But before Glorilla, it was 8-Ball MJG, 3-6 Mafia. Nobody need nobody. All I need, like. So people think it's all sugar sweet, but it's like, okay. All right.
That's reality, right, ladies? I mean, there has to be, we all, you know, the young people say it, you know, they stand in 10 toes down on what they believe. And I think the reality is if you're going to survive and thrive in business, you have to get you some, you know, to be able to hold yourself down when everybody else is trying to keep you down. So, you know, it's a little gangster, it's a little ghetto, it's a little, I don't give a, you know, in all of us. I don't care how many times I see a polished woman. I know she went through some stuff to get as polished as she is. And a little bit of that still resides in her just in case somebody wants a FAFO.
I always say, you know, I went to school in Atlanta. I was like, nuck if you buck. So let's.
Catch me at the right time on the wrong day.
That is.
It's a reason why my boundaries are so clear. Sugar, that's for me. That's so I can sit myself down. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So ladies, let's continue this when we come back. So after the break, let's dive into how success is peace. And you have to be able to find your peace on your pathway in your own season. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, y'all. And as you can see, we're about to be on this roll because sometimes finding your peace means shutting everybody else down and shutting everything else out. So ladies, let's talk about that for a moment, because like we said, we can ride and die. We can, hang with the best of them. But sometimes you have to just kind of steal away from everybody else to get yourself together, get your thoughts together, get your plans together. Because when people find out you're doing something good and it's working, everybody got an idea on how you can scale up. And you riding your high and you think you want to jump in on their bandwagon and then lose your own. So, ladies, whoever wants to go next about not jumping on everybody else's bandwagon.
I'm going to defer to Kim. You go, Kim.
Okay. Well, it's so interesting because having a business like mine, I get a lot of contributions of feedback from a lot of folks. And what's so funny is sometimes people are not tuned in to you in real time. So they'll tell you something that you're already doing, but they just hadn't seen it yet. Or that kind of thing. But I'm very much open to feedback. I think it's all good. I also think that when people tell me things, it helps me to see, from their perspective or from their point of view. So I'm not mad at it ever or take offense to it or anything like that. I found just from from a product, like from our business, even when we get customer service sort of inquiries or a customer that it seems like they have a problem, most of the time, pretty much 100% of the time, it ends up turning into a deeper relationship and even better customer because we always make personal phone calls. Anytime we have a customer has a real issue, we're going to, just face it straight up. And so we usually give a personal phone call. And so it ends up turning into a deeper relationship. And so, feedback is good. Sometimes, people give their feedback around how you should do things. And even from there, I think that it for my own peace, it's not for me to try to prove or say, just for my own peace. I'm not really good. I'm not people talk about like keyboard gangsters and stuff like that. I'm not really a keyboard person. Like I'm not going back and forth in the comments with people and stuff like that. I just don't thrive well in that area. I thrive more well like one-on-one, like pull up kind of situation. And I just mean it like that's just the way I thrive. I thrive better from like communication in person. Because I'll forget to respond on a comment or something. But what I will say is that for my own piece, what I found too is so I'm from Houston, but I've lived in other cities, and I recently expanded LAMIK to Tulsa, where we expanded our distribution and our shipping. So we ship all of our products from Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Most of our makeup is made in Houston, Texas, where I'm from. But we ship and distribute through Tulsa, Black Wall Street. And I spent a lot of time in Tulsa too. And it's a much smaller city, a much smaller town. I go to New York a lot. I do the LA, I do the Atlanta, I do all these other bigger cities. But I love sort of coming back to sort of like a small town kind of feel a little bit and just experiencing, more of a hometown kind of feel. I think for me, yeah, peace is just the way. For me, I just do it. For me, I don't have to explain my peace. Is this what I'm trying to do? I don't have to.
That's important. And I think that's important, Kim, that you don't, and you shouldn't have to explain your piece, because whatever grounds you, grounds you. How you find it is where you find it. And it can come from big cities, small towns. Some people like the hustle and bustle. But, at the end of the day, sometimes we like just come up, kick our feet up, have a coffee, a tea, a glass of wine, a bourbon, whatever floats our audience's boat. We all have our way of saying, this is my piece. I've done all that I can do. And I'm okay with not trying to please everybody or, rationalize every decision or filter every idea and concept. And Dr. T, that's where some people lose their own focus after they've said yes to themselves. They feel like they also have to say yes to everybody else because they have a fear of disappointing their audience or not meeting their client where they are. Do you think that takes you from keeping peace with self as well as losing your core?
It can if you let it, but only if you let it. So I totally agree with what Kim said. I'm open to feedback. Some of my, biggest advancements that I've made in my business have come because my clients, let me know, hey, Dr. T, it'll be cool if da 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 da, or this wasn't really as user friendly. So da 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 da, it helped me to upgrade my systems and redesign, some things that I was able to hear their experience with it. Or, and Dr. J, look at how much you'd have told me, hey, Dr. you might want to think about this. And what about this? And what about that? So being open to feedback, is a sign of humility. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. I can't anticipate everything. So making sure that you are humble enough to accept that and then accept the feedback, and you may not use all of the feedback and, but being gracious enough in that process, because you never know where your next instruction may come from or who God may use. If he used a donkey, then he may use a disgruntled client too, to give you the information that you need in order for you to be better. Now, the thing is, and this is where I think people kind of get caught up in the people pleasing, is that you have to have the discernment to be able to discern between if that information is coming from a constructive feedback place, if it's coming from someone that is just disgruntled within themselves and want to say something hurtful to pull you down, if that information should be acted on right then immediately, if it's something that you need to file away, because then it'll be, useful in the next year or two once you get to that stage. That's where your discernment comes in, because you have to then filter through all of that. That's where whatever your process is, me, I pray and okay, God, what you want me to do with this information? Okay, we're going to write it down and we're going to, save it, and knowing where and how and when to use whatever information is. And some information you just need to say, okay, thank you, and throw it in a trash can, and just, but you have to be the one that discerns and sifts through that. And when you don't, that's where you get into that people pleasing or feeling like I have to do all the things to keep everyone, happy, or keep all of my clients, because now you feel like you have to respond to everything. You have to, be reactive to everything. You have to anticipate everything. And that's just going to put you on the hamster wheel and the quick slippery slope to anxiety, That's also a sign that you are starting to run in fear, because you're not moving from a confident place. You're not moving from a discerning place. You're moving from a place of fear that if I don't do this, then they won't, like me anymore, or they won't buy from me anymore, or whatever it is. And so that's something that, again, you doing your internal work, you have to check that. So if you find yourself in that place, it's not about them. It's not about the feedback that's coming from them. So don't ever start pointing out here. Start looking at yourself and say, okay, what is it that's within me that's feeling insecure? What is it in me that's feeling like, maybe I'm not enough, as to why this is sending me on a hamster wheel, why this is triggering something within me that I can't sift through to see and discern what information I need to act on, what information I need to let go of, what information is just coming from a hater, and what information is coming from someone who truly means me well and is trying to help me grow.
I love that. So let's give our audience from each of you one thing that you learned in business that you use to keep growing, because every setback isn't to turn you around. Sometimes it's just to get you steered in the right direction again. So think about that. What is the one lesson in business that you have learned that you could give to our audience to help them in times of setback? Recognize that you got the tools. You just need to keep moving forward. I know y'all, I see it's like, it's really one of those things. So I'll start while y'all think. So I would say one of the things that a life lesson, that I have learned that allows me to be able to keep moving forward is that I was given a purpose here on earth to live. And when people question why I do what I do and how I pivot from one platform to another, I look at it as an opportunity that God says, like I said in his word, or he says in his word, when one door closes, another door opens. So for me, lesson in business has been, I'm always looking for the next open door. I think that's important, ladies, so that we are, thinking about this next open door. We went from traveling and hosting workshops and conferences to a pandemic. And God was like, how you going to pivot? And this is the platform that birthed out of COVID, was that we are not going to try to get on airplanes. We're not going to endanger people trying to get them to hotels and breakfasts and wearing masks. It was like, we have a network where we can create a platform for people to have a voice and do a show. So here we are. So I say, people, stand on what you know and what God has called you to do, and see where he's saying go, and walk in the door that he's opened for you. All right, who got next?
So I would say lean into the learning. I know that sometimes we are wanting to be comfortable, or like that. And I would say almost lean into like the goal actually always being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Put yourself in environments where you don't see anybody that looks like you, or just put yourself in an environment where, maybe, because when we say not look like you, that is not always mean skin tone or, ethnicity or sex, male, female. No, sometimes that just means background or where you come from or what school you went to. That diversity means so many different things. And so putting yourself in a position where, let me go outside the box. Maybe I've been playing in this sandbox. Things are not changing. Things are not moving. I'm not seeing anything happening for me. I'm not growing. Get outside, go somewhere, go outside, go somewhere where you maybe didn't even get an invitation, but you looked it up online and that's where it's happening, or what have you. I would just say, get uncomfortable, and do not allow, this is so important, do not allow previous success to abort future success. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times people can be successful and they do not want to go back to a student position, mm-hmm. or, so just being uncomfortable is what I would say.
I love that. Dr. T.
Yeah, mine kind of picks up right where Kim was saying about being a student. Always be learning. Always stay in a student position and learning from those who have went ahead of you. Whether they achieved it or didn't, you can always learn something, because having a mentor, having a coach, as you heard Kim say, now she has a business mentor. She didn't at first, but what a coach can do, what a mentor can do, is collapse time for you. You don't have to waste the same number of years or days or weeks wrestling with this situation, be it in your business, be it with your internal, self. You can get a coach, you can get someone who's gone ahead of you, and they can show you the cheat code. They can show you how to achieve that thing. They can connect you with people that can help you accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish, because they've already went ahead of you. So make sure that you are staying in that student space, because that's a place of humility. Also, so check your pride. check your arrogance. You don't know everything and you don't even know what you don't know. Okay. Stay in that learning position and then get you a coach, get you a mentor, lean into someone that has went ahead of you and allow them to teach you what it is that you don't know, because that's going to save you time and money, time and lots of money.
When we come back, I'll give my reflection.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can tell, living your life in full bloom is about being healthy, whole, and impactful. You don't have to sell your soul to build your brand. Thank y'all for watching. Bye now.